Hi, I'm Seamless, and today is Saturday, which means I forgot to do a how to bass yesterday. But this is the sound that we're going to make today. Yeah. So this is actually based on experiments in wave shaping that are built upon things that I discovered whilst doing the 40Ks recently. And actually, to explain a lot about what's happening, I'm going to do something from scratch. I actually have a lot of crap going on here, but just ignore all of that because we're just talking about this one guy here. But I want to show, I'm going to give like a basic explanation of kind of what wave shaping does, especially in the context of what I'm doing here. So I'm going to have a sine wave here, put this in a channel, put a wave shaper, and also put a wave candy so that we can look at what's going on. So update E. Here's our wave. Now what I'm doing is I'm taking advantage of a particular kind of wave type in the line editor called the pulse. The pulse basically creates square waves like this, and you can change how many there are based on the oscillation. The how many like there are, in total. So if I have just one, well, get that, and it creates a pulse. And notice that the more of the pulses I create inside the wave shaper, the more that show up in the wave. And in fact, it actually kind of correlates a little bit with how FM works, just a tiny bit. So that's the basic idea that we started off with. In the Citrus channel, not this one, this one that I used. This guy, I started off by creating a single shape that I just made going 4 times. Also, wait, I want to demonstrate one important fact about the wave shape. So in the main wave shape, it's over here, wave candy. Not only does the number of peaks that we create inside the wave shape are going to create how many peaks show up in the actual waveform, but also the volume of the incoming waveform is going to control it as well. In this case, I'm controlling the preamp, like the pre, so that basically how much volume it goes into the wave shaper. As the volume increases, it increases how many of these that it goes through, and so how many of them show up. So that's how you would modulate that sort of parameter. Is you would modulate the pre on the wave shaper. So there is actually a wave shaper built into Citrus's filter sections. You just go to the wave shaping, and then you can have exactly the wave shaper that's in there. And that's what I did with this guy. And instead of using the basic pulse type, I created a repeating pattern that would show up from 0 to max volume input, and then I am controlling the volume of the pre of the filter itself with mod X. And that controls how many of these peaks show up in the waveform, which also correlates a little bit with this pitch sort of increasing that we're hearing as well. Now, this oscillation is coming from a whole bunch of other stuff. If I actually were just to listen to this filter by itself, this is what it would sound like. Not a lot going on. The other guys I have in here, in this first filter, I basically turned the filter off, and I set the volume to go to next. So this means that it's going to go into filter 2, and then I put operators 3 and 4 also in filter 2. Operators 3 is just a sine wave. They go in there to just give us a beefy low end. And then operator 4 is a very, very low pitched half sine wave, which gives us that oscillation that we're hearing. We're essentially using the DC offset to kind of slam it into the distortion of the other guys, which causes that. I'm also using a regular wave shaper to just kind of saturate everything together. Kind of like just using distortion as a mode of compression. Because if I did that with the other guy, it actually changes the pitch of the effect, because the more volume that goes in, the more of the peaks that are going to apply to the waveform versus just regular saturation. And because the waveforms that we're using are all on the ratio, the higher the pitch, the faster the oscillation. But this is all built on the idea of using the Waveshaper to basically do a kind of FM. Because what's happening is that it's when the volume increases going into the Waveshaper, like it does with this guy, it's adding in additional harmonics into the waveform itself, which is causing a similar effect to FM. And in fact, if you go to the wave option, we can actually use the sine wave type instead of the pulse type. And then the result is basically identical to regular FM via sine wave. Except that we can do a couple of things with wave shaping that we're not really able to do with FM directly. Like actual FM isn't really going to be able to give you a pulse shape, because if you were to modulate something with a pulse, you wouldn't get that. So that's why wave shaping is pretty cool in this regard. So to use the Waveshaper inside the filter, you route the operators into a filter like so, and then you turn off the filter. It's on by default with the SVF type. You turn it off, and then you enable the Waveshaper. And doing so will bring you to the Waveshaper window. And then this waveshaping window is exactly the same as this waveshaping window, it's just shaped differently. The way that waveshapers work is that you have an in-out graph. So like if I had just a regular line type, I would do this. This is saying that the input is going to go in and it's going to come out exactly as if it comes in. This is a 1-to-1 ratio. And then if I were to do, say, something like this, this is saying that, okay, as it comes in, it's going to go out twice as loud. This is a 2-to-1 ratio. And, of course, we can do crazier things like this, which is just it's a saturation curve. And this is and because there's no time variables, there's no attack, release, or decay, it happens instantaneously. And it's sharp and it's hard, and it's where the distortion comes from. And, of course, doing something like this is saying that as the waveform comes in, it goes up, and it gets pulled back down, and it comes back up again. And this is going to change the shape of the wave, hence calling this wave shaping. And this behavior exists in the regular Waveshaper inside Citrus as well. It's just that because it's not a box, the rectangle, it just looks different, but it is still the same deal. This would be 1-to-1, this would be 2-to-1, and this would be the weird saturation that we just talked about. And so this lets us do that craziness. That's the real deal. And again, you access those sort of waveform options inside the Waveshaper by right-clicking on the point, and then you have pulse and wave. Pulse gets you this. You can go really high, and then if you come out the other side, there's actually there's two sides. There's negative polarity and positive polarity for that, and then there's also that for the waveform type. But what this does is it gives you the triangle wave or sine wave. So that's what that is, and it is a lot of fun. And I just messed with the thing that didn't need to be messed with. Anyway, I'll put up this patch for download in the description of this video so you can look at it and see what it's like. This is, again, built mainly off of using waveshaping as a kind of a weird surrogate FM. And that's rather interesting. If you have any questions about any of this, let me know. And as usual, have a nice day.